All right, good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Wall Street Jesus here. We're doing that Saturday sweep series again. I think 8 in total. So this is the second one. It's every Saturday, 11 o'clock. Um, and I'm going to take a different approach, a different route this time around. I'm flying solo here. And the first series last week, we talked a little bit about the trading aspect and just a couple of obvious things that traders, especially some of the newer traders, need to iron out before they start pushing buttons and putting their real money at work. Okay, and also how it ties into what we do in the steam room in regards to trading off wise guy flow, wise guy activity. So today what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the flow, and from this point on, we'll go week to week, discuss a little bit of what we've seen going on in the market, flow-wise, price-wise, news-wise, uh, maybe a game plan, take questions from you guys in regards to strategy, even maybe names you might have mentioned, or I know there are several of you who are members, part of the community, saw some decent activity in the name. Any questions at all, feel free to ask. No such thing as a dumb question in this game, especially if it's something you're new to. That's the only way you're going to learn anything. So don't be ashamed to ask anything that's on your mind as far as questions go. Okay. And I just want to start off a little differently this time because I got a couple of questions after the last week's webinar, and I didn't really hit on it enough, I think. So I'm just going to get it out of the way initially here. First off, wise guy activity is a unique style of options flow that I've been, throughout my long experience in this game. I used to watch everything. I would scan for unusual activity, size activity. I tried a number of things. When you're in the business, when you're in this game 20 plus years, you've been around the block and you've tried almost everything. But I was introduced to options flow from unusual options activity, UOA as they call it. A lot of people just said scans. They see a size trade or an unusual trade pop up, and boom, they think it's actionable. Okay, so what happened there, uh, it didn't take long to realize that I wasn't going to find much success doing it that way. Okay, there had to be more to it than just setting a scan, some sort of scanner for size or unusual activity and trying to tail that exact bet or order. Okay, when we don't even have any idea what's going on behind the scenes, why the guy, what the intent is behind the bet, if it's even a bet. Um, so, just logically and just think of it logically and losing some money, it didn't take too long for me to realize that I had to start digging a little deeper to see if it was even worth it. Okay, and that's the approach I've taken throughout my career, from the charts, technical analysis, to any indicator somebody brought to my attention that maybe they've had success with. I always look at what's presented to me, and then I start to dig a little deeper, see if there's anything else within that. And then once I find it's useless or doesn't do much for me, I move on. So what I did realize, though, is it wasn't about the unusual order that was significant or told you something that might have been taking place within the market. Because you got to understand, the one good thing about the options market, it's all in real time. You're seeing these orders, unlike watching blocks go off, and you don't know who's buying, who's selling. There are characteristics you can look at as far as the options flow is concerned, and increase the odds, increase the probability of it being what you may think it is. Okay, so what I realized was there was something else more to just the unusual activity. Okay, and it was two major things. One, the overall flow itself. In other words, rather than taking just each individual unusual order, okay, and thinking it's actionable, putting the whole entire flow together, sort of like pieces to a puzzle. All right, and I realized that a lot of times it would tell you a story, okay, or it was a accurate gauge of smart money sentiment, okay, if that makes sense. So in other words, if I see aggressive buying in the energy sector, okay, and not just one order, again, multiple orders over multiple days and hours throughout the day, that would give me a good gauge that, the pros out there were getting bullish on the energy sector. So I started looking and going that route in regards to options flow, okay? Once I started looking there, I also realized that what made up the flow, okay, like for example, you look and there's buyers and sellers all day long, okay? And you hear on social media all the time, I get questions, oh, did you see that Facebook buyer? Did you see that Tesla buyer? Oh, did you see that Amazon buyer? There's people buying calls all day long in the options market. 99.9% of it's useless information. Okay, it doesn't really signify anything to us. I mean, big deal. Somebody's buying calls in Facebook, somebody's buying calls in Amazon. But I realized there was one specific type of activity that really grabbed my attention. Okay, and it wasn't the unusual nature of it. In other words, it wasn't that it was a big order in a name that really doesn't catch size activity. It was the aggressive behavior behind the flow. Okay, so in simple English, what that means is somebody could go out and buy 10,000 calls of Facebook all in one block, negotiate a price. You know what I mean? There's a buyer, there's a seller, whatever the case may be. It's a big order, but again, it's all in one block, and we don't really know much behind that. Okay, but another route the pros can take, and quite frequently now, instead of buying all 10,000 in one block, if they want to stay under the radar, but they're more concerned about getting a fill than the price they get filled, they use what we talk about all the time, a sweep. Okay, and a sweep is, in simple English, it's an aggressive type order that can sweep multiple exchanges at once to get filled. Okay, so and I don't want to get into the options mumbo jumbo with you guys, okay, because I'm no options aficionado by no means. Okay, I've been an equity guy my whole life. Right now I've traded options, but I'm not even trading options right now off the flow. Okay, I'm trading the equity. So it tells you, and that in itself tells you a lot about how I use this information. Okay, because people who trade off unusual activity, they're buying the same calls where the unusual action is. So a sweep in simple English, the way I look at it, is an aggressive behavior that if, let's say, somebody who you knew something about IBM, okay, and they told you IBM, it's trading at $90 right now, IBM is going to 100 and it's going to go there within the next week, okay, and you felt really, really confident about IBM going from 90 to 100. How would you approach that? Okay, what would be the most bullish, the most aggressive activity you would take off that information? Okay, if you had the real confidence that IBM was going from 90 to 100, what would you do? And The only answer is if you had the resources, if you had the tools that these professionals do, that's what you would do. You would sweep IBM calls till you turn purple in the face, and we all have that degenerate blood in us. You'll keep sweeping, sweeping, sweeping until you're out of money, basically, okay? Or you've reached the limit where you can't buy anymore. So that's the type of activity I'm looking for. That's my goal. Now, we don't get that activity all the time, okay? But that's the signal. That's the strongest type of wise guy action you can get. All right, when a player is coming after a name and you see a sweep, buy some calls, another sweep, buy some calls, comes back 10 minutes later, sweeps, buy some calls, okay, and keeps coming, as we like to call it. That's the most bullish type of wise guy action you could get. Now, there's an in-between from doing nothing in that. You know, a guy can sweep the exchanges once, which is an aggressive order, okay, but not as aggressive as if he kept coming. You know, he could sweep it 2 or 3 times. Some syndicates out there, they sweep them all day long. I mean, sometimes we see Facebook, Apple sweepers throughout the whole entire day, you know, and carry the stock and create momentum to the upside. All right, so that's what I'm focusing on. Now, listen, there's other bullish combination bets, spreads in the options market that are worth taking note of. Okay, it's not like I ignore them, but my goal is to find the most aggressive activity out there. All right, because like I said, if you had confidence, I mean real confidence, that IBM was going from 90 to 100 by next week, you're not putting on a call spread, right? So, to make a long story short, that's, you know, from getting introduced to unusual activity to trying to get a read of the flow, the whole big picture type thing, and then digging a little deeper, looking for the most aggressive activity out there. Okay, so what we do in the steam room, and this is what I wanted to start it off with, because a lot of people, I didn't think I was going to get that question, which is kind of stupid on my part, but what's wise guy activity? What's, you know, what is the flow you're looking at? So that's what we do in the steam room. Okay, and basically, you can see here, let me blow this up here so you can see. All right, so you can see there's multiple orders over here on the right side of your screen. You see long call. There's a ton of action there. Not every alert means something. But like I told you, not, you know, we're looking to put the pieces to the puzzle together. Okay, and a lot of times that sets up the big opportunity. Because when you kind of get the backdrop of what they may be trying to do, in other words, if, as we call them, the wise guys, which is the smarter professional money out there that's speculating in the option market, if flow is telling us that they're starting to get involved and looking towards the energy sector, okay, now we have that as a backdrop. It's in our head, okay, they're starting to nibble in energy. Let's see where it goes from here. And that ends up becoming aggressive sweeper activity into the energy sector. In my eyes, those are the best opportunities, okay? Especially when the overall sentiment in that sector or overall market is in your favor, meaning the average trader, retail trader out there, the public wants nothing to do with that group. They're on the other side. And that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Okay, so, and that's basically what we do. And I try to keep it as simple in the explanation without getting too into the options nonsense, because that sort of turned me off initially. I'm not going to lie to you. Like options, the complications in options trading turned me off initially because me, as far as my trading is concerned, throughout my career, the more simple I kept things, the more success I found. Anytime I try to complicate things, okay, and throw a monkey wrench into what I was doing, that's when I would hit a brick wall. So anything that seemed complicated initially, confusing in a sense, I would quickly brush aside. And I know options can do that, but that's in simple English what we do. So we come in every day, we're looking at the flow, we're trying to put the story together, and then underneath the hood, and we could talk more about this in the weeks to come, you know, even throughout this webinar as far as recapping some of the action we've seen, you know, some of the most aggressive activity out there. You can see here the lightning bolts are sweeps, and these Tetris type blocks are blocks. Okay, so it's signifying what's aggressive, what's a size block order, and stuff like that. Here we have a heat map, basically, based off wise guy activity. So you click on the ETFs, and it breaks down, see SPY, IWM. So, you know, just breaking down, giving you a quick synopsis of what may be taking place in the market. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, let me get this quickly out of the way. First things first, without even trying to sell you anything, what all you should do, and some of you who are members or in the community, you should do this immediately. Instead of posting on my website, wallstreetjesus.com, what we did now is, let me find, hang on a second. Oh, here, I could go here, I think. Okay, so you go to wallstreetjesus.com. Okay, see here the free community here? You can register, and under market updates, you will get all this for free. Okay, so you just got to be a part of our community. No credit card, no nothing. You'll have your own login. Basically, every night I recap some of the activity that caught my eye. Some open interest in the morning, okay, of the activity the prior day, what carried over to open interest, sentiment, put the call charts, stuff like that that I think you'll find interesting will be posted in here in this market updates. Okay, so you can register. Yeah, so you basically register here, and if you're already a member, all you got to do is log in, and it will take you, if you're a member of the Steam Room, it will take you right into the Steam Room, and there's a market updates tab right here. Okay, if you're not a member of the Steam Room and you go in the free route, you will just see this without the flow and real-time commentary. You're going to see this right here. So, you know, the stuff I post on Twitter, but more of it. All right, on a daily basis. So I wanted to get that out of the way as well. All right, now I opened up 900 chat windows. Let me, before I get dizzy here. All right, anybody have any questions about anything I discussed so far here? Hold on. Okay, there we go. I just want to get back to the screen. So other than that, here's what we're offering. The premium, which is access to the Steam Room, webinars, audio. I'm on audio a lot throughout the day, so I'm giving play-by-play, commentary, analysis, what sweepers really excite me, what activity doesn't excite me as much, what activity is more guided towards maybe a swing trade than a day trade, that type of stuff. So I'm on throughout the day. Audio, now we fixed the video aspect. It's amazing. So we're looking at the charts together of the activity taking place. So this is what you get here with the premium. We're offering to you guys here 50% off the first month. All right, so you can check it out. Again, you could go to wallstreetjesus.com and see all this, so you can take a little deeper look. Okay. Also, with the free community, you're going to get the pre-market. You get a half an hour about pre-market, just me talking some open interest stuff, strategy for the day, what to look for, that sort of thing. That's also included with the free community. All kidding aside, all you guys should just sign up for the free community. There's no charge, no credit card, no nothing. There's no excuse not to. And just, you know, we all work together anyhow. Share ideas, share charts, and so forth. And then you have access to this too. Sorry, I'm rambling here. There's a million different things. You'll have access to the lounge, where from time to time, Now with the new technology, I can pop on, share my screen, video, after market hours. There's a decent sized community in here talking flow, technicals, all day long, even through the market hours. So definitely check it out. Okay, it's free. Might as well. And hang on. What did I do? All right, so the premium, you get access to all of this. Also, you get private Twitter. Okay, private Twitter is basically the alerts, sometimes a quick blurb on the activity, more of just explaining what took place rather than analysis. So it's just the order flow. Okay, also I post open interest on there as well the following morning, charts here and there, aftermarket. Okay, so that comes with the chat membership. We also, if you want to just get a feel for the flow and see if it's for you, again, we're offering 50% off the first month, but if you even want to take a cheaper route, we offer just private Twitter. That's $59 a month. I think it's $59.99. You go to wallstreetjesus.com, you can check it out. This is the private Twitter. Okay, so you're going to get these alerts as they are here like this. Okay, so if you're unsure if it's for you and just want to get a feel for the flow, private Twitter is more, a lot of people use it in addition to the chat room when they're on the go and just want to get an idea of what's taking place in the market. Or a lot of times before people sign up for the chat room, they just, they want to see what the flow is all about. They'll take the cheaper route to see if we don't have any discount going on the Steam room. Also, if you already have a strategy and you just want the alerts and nothing else, that's one of the reasons too we spun off private Twitter, so you just get that at a discount as well. Okay, but like I said, for now we're offering 50% off the first month if you want to check the whole premium package. All right, then you got a one-day pass. I think this is still live for $13 for 1 day, which can be of use, but 1 day, honestly, guys, yeah, 1 day could be killer. We could have a killer day 1 day. It doesn't mean anything, So 1 day is hard to get a good view on anything in this game. You really want to come in with the view to learn something new, take your time, and see how you can incorporate this into your trading style. But again, 1 day we got the $13 pass, so that's out there for you guys as well. All right, let me get to some quick questions regarding the activity, anything I just mentioned right now, because I feel the questions are the most important when it comes to these webinars. So let me hit a couple. Mitchell saying, what's the difference between a block and a sweep? Basically, Mitch, exactly what I said. A sweep is small, multiple orders across several exchanges to get a fill. Okay, a block is one big block. All right, if you trade equity, okay, and you're trying to relate it to that, somebody buys 50,000 shares, maybe negotiates a price, and he buys a 50,000 share block. Okay, or somebody buys 5,000 shares, 3,000 shares, 2,000 shares. You know what I mean? That's more like a sweep. What else we got? So those sweeps, Brendan O'Kelly is saying, so those sweeps eventually all come out as one block. We have the technology that through Trade Alert, who all the alerts, all the data that's provided to all the members, we have an exclusive deal with Trade Alert. Trade Alert, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're the best in the game when it comes to this stuff. They power everything coming into the room in real time. All right, so Trade Alert basically takes these 50-lot, 166-lot sweeps and adds them up for us instantly. Okay, so all in real time. And, on that note, a lot of times you'll see, you ever see those weird numbers like 2166? Somebody swept 2166 Facebook calls. That's because, again, usually it comes in a sweep, smaller lots. And maybe next week I'll show you guys, maybe I'll break down the sweep a little bit more and show you guys what it exactly looks like. You'll find it's fascinating. It really is. Okay, what else we got? Is the Y guy, George is saying, is the wise guy window? Oh, in the wise guy window, there was a column called type. Could you please tell us more about it? Sure, George. Great question. See, I'm new to these webinars, guys. I forget all the important details sometimes, and I need people like George to remind me. Okay, here's the beauty of what we've done. We really come a long way, okay? Because like I said, I've been a broker, a trader, managed money. This is all new to me here. So we started off just with a chat, with me posting activity throughout the day. We've come a long way now. So what the beauty of this is, let's say you want to find all the activity in Micron of recent, okay? You'll type in MU to the search, and basically, let me take off this heat map. Here is all the activity that hit the board in Micron. So you see here, you know, on Friday, sweep, March 27th, all the activity that day, March 23rd. By the way, look at all the bullish activity. This is not just calls. You could do it. You could adjust for just put or calls if you want. This is both. And this is all the wise guy activity in Micron. Now again, there has been put activity, I'm sure, in Micron. But the type of activity we screen for, you could see there's not a put buy to be found. All right? And, you know, those of you who follow me and those of you who are in the room or in the community know exactly what we're talking about. I mean, with Micron, you know, there was some heavy-duty, aggressive, sharp call buying in Micron for an extremely long time. Like you can see, I have this consolidation marked off here. Towards the end of this consolidation, this is where they really started to heat up the wise guy activity, the call sweeper activity, and you know she hasn't looked back since. And then prior to earnings, you know, we were seeing heavy duty April activity, July activity. You could see here. So basically, you have a search function that you can go back and look and see, you know, what strikes were played. Not only that, here's the most important thing, I feel. Oh, you see this reference, REF, reference price? Basically, it tells you where the order came in, where the stock was. Now, we find that useful because if they started sweeping aggressively at $20, okay, and the stock ran to 24, hypothetically, this week, it's up $4 off that activity in a week. So, you know, it's probably prudent to not chase and wait for some consolidation or a pullback because the buying started $4 cheaper. You know, and that's where this information becomes very useful because you don't need to be an options trader. Like I said, a lot of people in the community trade equity. They're stock traders, okay, or trade both. This stuff can be used as a powerful indicator for any type of trader out there. Okay, so that's what this is. This is a search function which lists all the activity. You just hit in the symbol. This is me broadcasting live throughout the day. This would be the live feed. So that's where I would share my screen. Here you hear my voice. You could blow it up, you know, all that jazz. This filter button is just me. So in other words, and this again becomes extremely useful, one of the main issues with chats, and honestly it bothered me more than it bothered a lot of people, but like throughout the day, a lot of people are running their mouth. You know, and they're talking about the market, and you can learn a lot of things, but we have members who, you know, already know what they're doing. They have their strategy. They know how to use wise guy activity. they don't really want to hear what anybody in the chat room has to say during market hours. So this filter allows you to just pick up on the flow. So you don't have to go sifting through it if you miss something, you know? So this is just flow and my comments. You understand? So if something hits the board, you'll see my comments here, you know, explaining what took place. And again, I'm on audio, video as well, so we got everything covered. So you got a lot of things to fool around with here. Once you get in, you can see a whole members only, off topic. That's we'll go over that another day, but that's the most important. Good question, George. There's some good stuff in there. I appreciate it. Okay, Faye has a question. How can Steam Room help me as a day trader since I just need names to look at and make my own decision? Faye, I'm not shooting smoke up your rear end, okay? I'm being dead honest. I day trade. I day trade equity. The biggest edge off this information, okay, off Wise Guy activity, is for day trading. Because here's why. Swing trading, you have to take into consideration a lot of different things. What's the overall market climate doing? You know, what's this? Is there earnings around the corner? I don't want to take the risk and hold through it. There's a lot of different things going on when you're holding overnight that fall in your lap, okay? As a day trader, it's pretty simple. It's very cut and dry, okay? And what I mean by that, here's how I day trade it. An aggressive order, a sweep, comes in a name. Let's say, let me use an example. Would I trade Friday? Would I trade Friday? Oh, let's just take Snap, for example. Okay? So Snap caught some activity Friday morning. All right? So if Snap is one of the names you trade or one of the names you're on your watch list for a potential day trade that day, all of a sudden there's Wise Guy activity coming into Snap. You like what you see. It creates instant momentum. Now the question is, how much momentum are you going to get out of it? Snap happened to grind throughout the whole day, but it will create instant momentum. Here's a perfect example, Expedia. And that's where this information is used best as an indicator of momentum coming into a name, because that's what it does. I'll try to find it off the thing too. Okay, here's Expedia. Now you can see here, Expedia was getting pretty beat up on Friday. All right, what was it down? 3 and change or something. So finally finds a bottom, right? Bases a little bit. And then right here, I think it was either here or here. We'll just call it here. Into this consolidation. Now some aggressive sweeper activity comes into Expedia. Okay? Again, if you like the setup, you like the name, you know, that is an indication that there's possible high probability of momentum coming into that name for a trade. A couple of us traded Expedia on Friday. You get in, you have your stop, you're already a day trader, Faye. So that's what I'm saying. This is the easy part for you. You already know how to day trade. So you're just looking for names. You're just looking for momentum. And in my opinion, you're not going to find a stronger real-time indicator than this when it comes to intraday momentum. If you know how to day trade, you're going to see the light in the snap of a finger off this stuff. So make a long story short, we got in Expedia. This is what happened immediately after that. Now, a lot of times what we'll do, raise a stop. I get a habit of selling the quick rip, but some people will raise a stop, you know, to try to milk it for a little bit more. And if it flattens out, they get stopped out. But a lot of times you're going to see an instant reaction. It's just a matter of how strong, how long that momentum would last. And that depends on a lot of things, Faye. You know, what's the market doing? How strong is the activity? Do they keep sweeping more calls? Then you can get an exaggerated reaction to the upside. All right, and you could see, do I still have it up here? Hold on, where is that other screen I got? Did I exit out? Hold on one second. I just want to show you. Here I posted in the free market updates where you could sign up. Here's the Expedia order. Okay, so this is the order right off the tape. Somebody swept 1,000 April 7th, 127 calls for $1. Okay, see, sweep opening. That was at 11:35. Here was the price, 126.46. So, so I was wrong. It was even earlier. So here, that's where the sweep came in. And that was the move from entry to high. Okay, so as a day trader, like I said, you'll find it extremely useful. It will not take long for you to see the light. Trust me. That's day trading. Swing trading, position trading takes a little bit longer. All right, who else we got? Did I miss somebody? I don't want to skip over somebody. All right, that's Faye. How do you decide on limit orders? I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean limit orders? For myself? I don't know what you mean by that, Mitch. If you can elaborate a little bit. Brendan saying, do you have the ability to chart on this? Like during the flat period, would dots or something show up to show call buying? No, we don't have a chart feature yet in the room. That is coming up next, as well as a real-time put-to-call indicator. Again, I might need to hit on that in a separate webinar, but that's another very useful tool that we use. Do you have ASO alert on future options? No. Am I pronouncing your name Maurizio? Maurizio, we have a lot of future traders in the room that trade futures. But here's what they do. The way they use the board in Wise Guy Activity, let me give you a good example of it, okay? So you can understand it crystal clear. They use the board for sentiment purposes, okay? So basically, they're not looking at each and every alert, okay? They don't care if Expedia is catching call sweeper or Microsoft is catching call sweeper activity, okay? They're looking at the overall flow to get a gauge on sentiment, all right? So what happens is, if the market is selling, okay, and let's say price is coming down, and there's Wise Guy call activity coming in, they'll trade ES. You understand? They'll get bullish ES for a trade. So they're looking for the divergence between Wise Guy flow and what price is doing. Okay? I'll show you something that I know a couple futures traders that I know made a nice hit. Okay? I can't go back on there to show you, but here's what we were looking at. Okay? This is another thing we're looking to incorporate into the Steam Room. This is our next project. There's a better way of doing what I'm showing you right now, cleaner way, and it's extremely powerful when you put this and flow together. This is basically a put to call, okay? Measures put volume and call volume throughout the day. So when the put to call is high, that means a lot more people, there's a lot more volume on the put side than the call side. Okay, which gives you a good idea of sentiment. It means a lot more of people out there are bearish than bullish. Okay, we use this in a contrarian way because the strongest signal for me, guys, and I mentioned this last week, the strongest signal for me is when price is weak. Okay, so the markets are selling, The retail crowd, that means everybody out there, the public is bearish. Okay, so you have price selling, you have the public bearish, right? That makes sense. Price going down, people are bearish. But the wise guys are bullish and buying into that. Okay, so you have a market that's weak, you have the public that's bearish, but you have the smart money aggressively buying into that weakness. That is the strongest signal for us. Okay, it doesn't get stronger than that. That's as strong as a signal as you're going to find. Okay, and where the way Wise Guy Flow can really help out with that information is on the timing aspect. Because here's why. The price can be selling, the markets could be getting hit, all right? The markets could be selling to the downside. The public could be bearish, everybody could be bearish, and that can last for a while, right? Who knows when it's going to turn around? It can stay that way for a bit. But that's where the Wise Guy Flow provides that edge. If professionals are starting to aggressively position themselves on the long side into that weakness, that tells us that a short squeeze or a turnaround is not too far away. Make sense? Okay? Because again, you, me, Mitchell, Greg, anybody out there, they're not sweeping calls in the option market. All right? So we're watching the professionals here. And like I said, there's a lot of times where the flow is mixed. We're not just watching one or two guys. You know, there's thousands and thousands of players out there. But when the pros are getting lined up on one side and the public is on the whole opposite side, it doesn't get any more bullish than that. Okay, so this is one of the tools that come in handy. You know, and with the video, I show it on the screen all day long. But like I said, we're in the midst of calculating our own put to call, which really gets even a cleaner measure on this stuff. But you can see here, okay, this is a 2-hour put to call here. You see, this is an unusual spike, right? All right, we're going back here to the beginning. We're going back here to the beginning of the month, and you can see what is the outlier? This right here, right? This is a ginormous spike. This is at 10 o'clock on March 27th. Okay. Now, the shame of this is, I wish I would have taken the screenshot. On March 27th, at that time, the flow, okay, with this board here, was lining up just like this, all green. All green. So the markets were weak. The public was bearish, obviously, right? And the wise guys were getting lined up on the bull side, positioned for a squeeze. All right, and it's not a coincidence. You go back and look on the 27th. What day do you think that was? Okay, so again, that's as strong as a signal as you're going to get, basically, because you have everything lined up, and it doesn't always line up that way. Okay, sometimes it'll line up in a smaller way intraday, which can set up a day trade. Okay, but this is where you mentioned about trading futures. This is how this information can be useful with trading futures. All right, again, you know, a lot of people look at sentiment indicators, and, you know, the problem with it is you can be early. Like I said, things can stay weak for a while. You know, how do you time that? That's where the flow is such a great asset, because if the pros are buying into that, you know, they're pushing for that squeeze. They're positioning for that squeeze. And again, there's a high probability. That's the way we like to say it, because there's no guarantees. God forbid a bomb goes off. Anything could happen in this game. You guys know that. But it sets up a trade with a high probability squeeze out there. There's no way of knowing how long the squeeze is going to last, how powerful the squeeze may be. But that's where, you as a trader, that's where you take control. Right? There's nobody can trade for you. That's where you have full control, and that's the part you got to figure out. But this is the stuff where wise guy activity can be a huge edge. Okay, huge edge. Now, a lot of people, again, here's the biggest mistake a lot of people who sign up. This is what they do. They come into the Steam room and they say, oh my God, Apple, $720,000 bet. I'm buying Apple. Okay? And they have no idea. It's the first day in the Steam room. Apple is up a gazillion points. Okay? I still have the box marked off back here. This is where Apple, the wise guy activity, first started to heat up, all the way back here. So somebody comes into the Steam room and is buying Apple up here because it caught a big bet. Now, what do you think? Apple now is just going to go up every 5 minutes, every day, catches a bull bet from these guys? They've been tattooing this thing for months. For months. You could go back over on and on and on and on and on and on, all the way back to that box. So that's the problem a lot of traders, and usually, newer traders come in and they're looking for that crystal ball. They're looking for that thing that's going to spit out stock picks, and they can just buy it and make money. And this game doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay, this stuff provides, again, that edge, that small edge you need to find consistency. Yeah, you got to know how to trade. You got to know how to manage your risk. You have to have these things figured out. That's the most important thing. If you have 4 winners, 1 loser, but that 1 loser wipes out all your winners, I don't care what you stumble across. You're a dead man in this game. So, that's the stuff you got to have figured out. But in regards to using this as an indicator, you know what I mean? Getting a gauge on sentiment of the smart money out there and what they may be doing, it's powerful. Here's another one. Again, these are the strongest signals. That strong signals aren't there all day long. I'm just showing you the strong ones. The question is, do you have the patience to wait for it? Encana has been one of their favorite names, ECA, for so long. Okay, they've been buying this thing since the Feb 2016 lows at $4. Okay, you can see Encana right here. Okay, so this thing's been in bull mode. They've been buying every dip since. So oil had, a nice little wash recently. And Encana got washed with all the energy names as well. So what happened was, as Encana here was getting beat up to the downside, somebody came and just unleashed the fury on it. Bought 20,000 calls, came back, ended up sweeping another 15,000. The next day, Encana went a little bit lower. Okay? All that buying, and Encana with energy still had another day of weakness, and they came and sold puts, which, again, it's an option term. Basically, they're selling puts to open. So they're willing to buy the stock at a lower price. It's an extremely bullish transaction, okay? And you can see, it basically marked the lows. All right, now, yeah, there was a quick trade out of it, and you had to stomach this if you wanted to catch this here. But, these are the strongest signals out there that if you have the patience, if you told me you're just going to play this type of stuff, you're going to find a lot of success. But, us traders, we need a lot of activity. The waiting game is not easy to do. So I just want you to understand that, there's strong setups like anything else, And then there's stuff that you're looking to just grind it out, make a little bit of money, and that's where your risk management comes in to play in such a huge way. Because the most important thing is not getting hit over the head. You know what I mean? Not getting hit over the head and waiting for these strong signals to take advantage of. And that's anything you're going to find in this game. There's nothing that's just going to spit out a swing trade winner every single day. It's just not going to happen. All right, let me get into some other questions here because I'm rambling on, as I tend to do. Hold on a second. All right. Who'd I miss here? Okay, that was Brendan. That was you. Okay. Do you have ASOLR futures? We said that. Can we have a discount by using market inflection and wise guy activity in the same time, like a package? We are working on that. We are working. Well, what happened was, it's a separate service right now that Lucci's offering. What we're looking to do is we're trying to incorporate both strategies and see if it works. We're looking to get started on something like that. So if that's what you're asking, we're not there yet as far as that's concerned. They're two different services right now. Are we supposed to be seeing the payment plan options? What do you mean? You can't see? Where is it? You couldn't see the right here, this? Ooh. Are you asking about that? Are you asking about that, Brendan? The payment plan options? They're right there, no? Are you guys not seeing the screen properly? Is that what you're telling me or no? Can you guys see the screen okay? Anybody? Oh, okay. Yeah. Brendan, you don't understand. I'm looking at the wrong time here. My bad. I'm sorry. I saw the thing. All right. So let me talk a little bit about flow. I was looking earlier in the conversation, Brendan, the first thing you were saying. Sorry about that. All right. Oh, did I miss anybody? I apologize if I missed. Don't take it personal. Will Wise Guy Alerts provide information of implied volatility besides the option order flows? What are you looking for, George, exactly? Yeah, in other words, here, I think this is what you mean. Hang on. I think this is what you mean. As you can see, I'm not the best navigator around these things here. Are you talking about, hold on, like this? Is that what you're interested in? Because yeah, we break down everything. Like I said, Trade Alert is, in my opinion, yeah, as good as you're going to get when it comes to this information. So I work solely with Trade Alert. Like I said, they power all this data in here. We have access to all their stuff. I speak with them every week, trying to work on new things. So there's a lot of good stuff coming on the way, newer stuff, and we have right at our fingertips access to any option information you guys would need. All right, so let me get into the market here. I think I answered everybody's questions for the most part. I apologize if I skipped over it. All right, so basically what we've been seeing in the overall market is pretty simple. After what I just showed you, okay, let me get this out of the way now. After this bottom on the 27th, the overall flow has been Brexit-like. Okay, what I mean by that is even the pros, they're giving the impression that they were more concerned about getting left behind than chasing. Okay, that doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to end up like that Brexit rally. Okay, the Brexit rally was this year. Okay, where the wash came and then boop, you basically had no time to get in. There was this little pause, and we were at the top of this range afterwards. So that's the impression flow has given up till now. Will it remain that way is the most important question. Okay, so that's where we are now. We got to look at the flow on a day-to-day basis and see, because one or two things are going to happen. They can let the market breathe here, okay, and there'll still be some call buying under the hood, but there won't be any aggressive put buying out there, okay, because we didn't even see the flow turn bearish yet. There was one aggressive day on the put side. It was this day here. That was the only day they were sweeping aggressively put side. And one day doesn't make a trend. Okay, when this market is ready to roll over, we're going to see, you see this board lit up in green? You're going to see it red day after day after day. Okay, and then you're going to see squeezes and they'll get green. But you see how it's predominantly green, even though the market was red? Okay, it was predominantly green throughout the day. That's what will happen when one of these sell-offs end up being real. Okay, so we haven't even seen the flow completely turn yet. The flow's been incredibly bullish up to here. So they're probably, one of the options is let this market consolidate, breathe, maybe give another one of those fake slips like we're rolling over, but they come in, buy it, and head higher. Or we can remain in this little choppy little downtrend here for a little bit longer. You could see the lower highs here. So, we could chop around here and stay and chop. The most important thing I think at this point here is to be careful what you chase, especially on a swing trade basis. Okay, because, if you're day trading, you're in, out, you have your stop, it's nothing to be concerned about. But if you're swing trading, you're really looking for high risk reward opportunities. You don't want something that could inch higher the next couple of days only to roll over. And a lot of these names have come a long way. I mean, look at these FANG names, and we're heading into earnings. Look at these things. So no matter what, I think you have to wait for a breather on some of these things, and we're going to keep a close eye on flow, and the board will tell the whole story. But there's been, some big winners. This WDC got lit up with the Micron. That's been a big one. They've been all over Tesla, some sharp activity in Tesla. They actually even came in Friday afternoon and swept some more Tesla calls. All right, so it's not the initial activity. The initial activity happened, where was it? Here somewhere. Could have been on that day, maybe. So this is where they started buying the Tesla. It was a real sharp in the money, deep in the money bet. That really told the whole story, that they were getting really bullish on this thing, and then would catch sweepers throughout this whole grind higher, and then the explosion. On Friday, you had some sweepers late in the afternoon on Tesla. But, the semiconductors, all these semiconductors, we mentioned the Micron, the semiconductors across the board. AMD has been a name. They were hitting up into this consolidation. Had a nice day Friday. So we're kind of at the spot now where in the overall market where it's a wait and see type approach, and regardless, it's not a sweet spot per se, because you really have to chase anything you're looking to buy. Another group that looks interesting is energy. They came into a couple things, some of the ETFs, COP, Oasis, some of the smaller ones they were buying up. I mentioned that in Kana. So, but, look, see, me personally, and a lot of us who have been trading for a while of wise guy activity, it's not about, see, when a stock is going higher and there's call buying, what does it really tell you, right? They're bullish, but the stock has been bullish. The stock's going up, What really catches our eye is when there's weakness and they're extremely bullish. That's really the stronger signals out there. And I'm not talking about complete, collapse weakness. It could even be consolidation. Some lengthy consolidation that they're starting to buy up into. They were doing it in Baba while it was consolidating throughout this job. So it becomes a little more difficult when you want to chase these type of things without waiting for some sort of breather or a pullback. Because what happens is if you're swing trading, again, you may get another day of upside, and you're probably not going to take it off the table, and then you're going to get caught in the wash. And if you're an options player, that wash is going to eat you up alive. It's going to eat you up alive. So you really, your entries, when you're trading the options, no matter what, whether flow you're looking at or you have a crystal ball telling you where a stock may end up, your entries are so important when you're paying up for premium. They could eat you alive. What about anybody have any questions on stocks or stuff like that? Any recent activity? Let me pull up the questions here. Let me see if I can manage these questions properly. Anybody have any stock questions, action questions? Where are these the questions here? I can't even. I think I got a lag. But yeah, so Expedia was a name too. Saw some buying into weakness. There was put selling in Expedia prior to this push, and got a nice little kick. And you got a nice little wash here, and they were buying into some of the weakness there. They could be a little early, but a lot of times these things squeeze on back, and they catch a nice little move. HIMX and Yup. HIMX, that name has been littered with call buying for so long now. So, that's tough up here. At least you got a little bit of a pull. That's like that CY, that semiconductor CY, finally got a pull. This is another little semi that they've stuck with throughout. These semiconductors have been unconscious, all of them. My favorite out of, the tech names was this WDC, because what happened is this thing caught a lot of buying throughout this, okay? Then you finally got some nice consolidation here, right? And at the lower end of this consolidation, they hit this name up with some hefty, big-time call buying. Big-time call buying. I can show you here. Hold on. So you could see $500,000 sweep, another 400,000, 450, 440. Here's a July 65 in the money, $3.3 million sweeper there. $3.3 million. So you could see they were hitting this up throughout this whole consolidation, and it finally took off. See, personally, I like when they're buying into consolidation and when they're buying into pullbacks. They can be early, okay, but that's where, again, you could get, your biggest bang for your buck. Names like now Apple. I mean, Apple, it's rare. You don't see this often. This is craziness. This is craziness. But, you know, a lot of times, like, let's say a Netflix, for example. I know a lot of people like to trade that name. See, if you bought the Netflix highs, you get caught in this, right? You bought the Netflix highs, caught in this, Netflix highs, caught in this. So, yeah, this may be the time it continues to push, but it's just, you know, there's so many stocks out there. The time to look for Netflix wise guy activity is when it's pulling back, you know, or consolidating, not when it's up 5 days in a row, and that's where everybody likes to buy it. But it's usually the worst time. What else? What other names you guys got out there? Anybody? Oh, why? See, I apologize. These questions are supposed to be in chronological order. In other words, the time, but they're not. And that's why I'm missing you guys. I think I just fixed it. I apologize. Thoughts on BAC? BAC, same thing. BAC, a lot of guys in the room had it. There was buying into this, and there was sweeper activity into this. And, you know, now you got this grind higher, so you're going to have to pay up. I like BAC off wise guy activity into some consolidation or a pull here. If they buy it again, you know, I want to see the flow come in again. Just to know that they're trying to keep this bottom here, you know. But the sweet spot on that BAC trade was these days into the weakness. Goldman Sachs was the one that got the action, and they nailed the lows right there. Let's see, what was it then? The best action, like I said, guys, is when they first start buying these names. Okay, so you can see, look, Goldman Sachs didn't catch any flow from January 13th. Okay? January 13th. That's a decent amount of time. Not one order hit the board. Even, look, even as the stock was moving higher, no call buying. Okay? So Goldman Sachs didn't catch not one order. All of a sudden, we get a rollover. Okay? And what happens? On 3/27, they come in with 3 orders. And that, you know, those were the March 31st, 225 weeklies when the stock was 222. So that was down here. Exactly, yeah, right here. You know, marked the low. So now, you know, we may see some Goldman. I think we saw another Goldman buyer somewhere along the way. But I would look for the same thing as BAC. You know, you want to see some consolidation or a little bit of a pull. You know, maybe looking like it's going to roll over, but all of a sudden call sweepers buy it. But this was the sweet spot on Goldman. Not because it was the bottom, because what I just explained to you. There was no buying since January 13th, and then all of a sudden they magically appear on this day for a reason. So the banks, again, that's how I would approach it. You know, if you're not in off this entry, I would wait on further flow. What else? I see Yelp. Yelp. You know, Yelp is a real piece of garbage, huh? Yeah, so Yelp, actually, I think Yelp caught a buyer recently. But Yelp hasn't, besides a quick trade, Yelp hasn't been a great. You're talking about, wait, Faye, you're talking about a swing trade? Yelp on 327 and 329. 327 and 329. Okay, so the same day, a lot of things caught bull flow on this day, but it caught a buyer here and 329, and it caught a buyer here. So again, this was initial activity here, so you got to pay up a little bit. See, the same thing, Faye. A lot of these things, I would wait to see if they catch a buyer into weakness. Because why? That would confirm that when they bought on this day was more than just a trade. You know, they think these lows are going to hold. That's that's a lot of things right now that are coming off lows like this. The banks. That's how I would approach them. What else? Let's see. I missed somebody here. NBI Corp, really solid activity to close out the week. Really solid activity. I don't know why they want to own this thing, but they want to own it. Here. So look at this. NBI hasn't caught any sort of action since 2016. Okay, so 3:30, that's Thursday and yesterday. They're tattooing May calls. So here and here. And they're playing they played a couple different things, but they have May 9s and May 10s here on that NBI. So, listen, it's a slow mover, obviously. I mean, it's an $8 stock. It's a bond insurer. I remember I was talking about this to members on Thursday when we seen the action. Some of you guys may be too young to know this. This thing was an animal back in the day. This in the AMBAC. An absolute animal. If you don't believe me, I know a lot of people who got rich off this stock. Look at this thing. With splits along the way. They were printing money before the housing boom. Look at the housing boom in 07. The housing bubble. But, yeah, the NBI, they're looking for some sort of squeeze or something here. And they're targeting Mays. So, could be worth a shot. I mean, the good thing is you're buying it off a flush here. You're not chasing it. A little bit of a bump, but not much. Probably even, yeah, I mean, Mays is not that bad. Keep an eye on it. What else? Who they miss? But yeah, NBI caught some decent activity. What are you seeing, Kate? Kate, we see action, all sorts of action. We saw a little bit of call, out of the money call selling. We saw some call buying. Yeah, there's been a ton of activity in this name. Ton. We did see some coach buying of recent. There was a nice coach buyer back here into this consolidation. And there was a recent buyer last week. But Kate, Kate's tough. You're playing for the news there now, no? Kate's a tough one. You're playing for news. I don't know, is the upside worth it? If the deal falls through there, you're dead. I don't know what are they valuing the deal at? I don't play. I wouldn't play that stuff. I don't fool around with that stuff. I like to go where there's no rumor or deals pending and stuff like that. Forget it. When you talk about animal, let me show you Win. Win is honestly one of my favorite wise guy names, and I'll tell you why. They sweep call side in this thing when it looks the worst and nobody wants to buy it. Okay? And then what happens is they'll add, and because what happens with these guys, you got to understand, they'll hit a win up here, or let me take one for example, a Bank of America. Let me just use that for example, and then I'll tell you what. Okay? Bank of America, what they'll do is they'll start hitting it in this consolidation, right? That'll be initial activity. Then Bank of America start moving, and then they'll buy it up as it goes higher. I mean, they've been doing it in Apple, I showed you. Okay? So once the initial activity is there, they keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. Okay? They lock in some profit, roll up and out. Lock in some profit, roll up and out. Because then if they ever catch one of these, they kill it. All right, so what happens in Win, they come in at the worst times normally and buy it, and nobody wants to buy it. Okay, because it looks the worst, at its worst. Looks like it's rolling over. I hear technicians calling breakdown and this and that. Then what would happen when it starts to rally? Then everybody wants to buy it. So what do you think happens? It rolls over again. You know, it finally broke out of that whole long, lengthy consolidation. And this thing has been an animal. Caught another big bet Friday. Big bet. Here, $1 million order, May 115 calls. Now, you have the Macau numbers. They came out, right? How were the Macau numbers, by the way? Were the Macau numbers, anybody got the Macau numbers on hand? But yeah, you have Macau numbers coming out, and they hit up May calls for $1 million. Here we go with these stupid questions. They don't line up here. Okay, there we go. Was there any put buying before the Lulu earnings? No. We looked at the earnings flow too. There was nothing. You know, earnings are a crapshoot, but there was nothing stuck out pre-earnings. There was a little buying post-earnings, but they were in. I think they expired. I think they were weeklies expiring Friday. They bought it right before the close Friday. But that's the only thing I've seen in Lulu. WDC is an absolute animal. I would look, yeah, up here it's tough now. But, you know, pullbacks. Listen, anytime this thing catches a sweeper into a pullback, she's money. She's just one of those names. She's money for at least a trade. And what I mean by that is this. She caught a sweeper here. You know, you had this quick rip to trade. She caught a sweeper here. You had this quick rip to trade. See, there's trades, and then there's big winners. Not everything's a big winner. But, you know, I mean, you gotta, sometimes you can't look at everything as a big winner. You need everything to line up. That's when you want things to, you know, give them a long enough leash. But every time this WDC catches a sweeper off some, you know, little consolidation or a pullback, she's been money for a trade. So that's what I would look. Maybe you get lucky, it takes a little breather here. But this thing, my fear is it's just getting started again up here, you know, similar to the Micron. But you never know. You can get in trouble chasing. You never know. But I'm biased towards that stock. I like it a lot. I like the action a lot, put it that way. Macau revenue rise 18% in March. So that should be good, no, Ryan? That should be good, right? Oh, boy. That's more than they expected, no? Good gracious, that thing. JNUG. We saw, what did we see? Nugget. We didn't see any activity in JNUG in a while now. Well, I say a while in our terms. Nugget caught some buying Friday. Nothing spectacular. Some buying, though. And GDX caught a September sweep. They went out to September, though, so, you know, they're looking for some time there, which makes sense. At an interesting spot, too, this GDX. But you're right, JNUG is the tell with them. When they sweep JNUG, usually that's when these things are ready to run. Usually that's, you know, because that's a degenerate ETF. So if they're sweeping JNUG, they're pretty excited about a move in the miners. Who'd I miss? What other names? BACCIEN. Where do I know that? Oh, I know this CIEN. Um, this thing caught size put buying, and we were wondering if it opened or not, and it didn't. It closed, I think. They closed puts. I'm almost positive. But that's the only action here. Let me see. It's probably on the board. We needed to confirm that. It's such an unusual name. This here. So there was $521,000 block order on the put side, but they closed. So it wasn't bearish. That's the only thing I know. It's funny. Is that why you're mentioning the stock off that order? Otherwise, it's funny that that thing, that's the only way I know that name. Ah, honey, AMD. Look at you pumping AMD in here. You love AMD. You loved AMD. No? You loved AMD. See, and Ani, by the way, is a member of the Steam Room. I know Ani a while now on Twitter, so we've been sharing ideas for a long, long time. And, you know, he works on his craft and works on his trading game each and every day. You know, he'll be the first to tell you, learn something new every day. But the way he uses wise guy activity is the most efficient way I've seen people find success. And here's an example, AMD. Okay, he liked the name. Ani likes to look at charts, Liberace retracement and extensions, Ichimaki clouds, and all that nonsense. He looks at all that jazz. And, you know, so AMD lined up on his end. All he needed was wise guy confirmation, right? How can that hurt if wise guy sweepers are sweeping a name that is all set up already? You did your homework. All you need is wise guy confirmation for the confidence, you know, of a high probability setup. He got it. And, you know, while a lot of people were concerned about AMD, that it wasn't moving, you know, I heard all that. I heard rolling over a couple times in AMD. He accumulated a position, and now he's sitting in some green, and he's happier than a pig in poop. But that is the most efficient way to utilize this stuff, guys. Whether you're day trading, swing trading, you know, even futures, like I mentioned. It's what I just explained to you. And I do it that way to this day. Okay? I'm a little more robotic because I've been doing it for so long, you know, and every day I just do the same thing over and over and over. So, you know, it's become habit forming in the sense. But if you have any experience trading, there's probably, like I mentioned last week, there's probably something you do well. There's got to be some setup, something you've used that you found success but just couldn't find consistency. And when you combine that with wise guy activity, it could be a powerful thing. Powerful thing. And a lot of people will tell you that. A lot of people will tell you that. Now, the difficult part is if you really didn't come across anything and you're looking for that style. You know what I mean? That's where it becomes a little more difficult. Not that it can't be done. It's just you got to give it time. You got to give it time. But like for me, I'm watching the flow all day, every day. That's what I do. Okay? I'm not watching anything else. I'm watching the options market. And when I see an order in a name, okay, and I like the spot where the order came in, meaning, you know, I'll give you an example. I don't like, let's take just a random snap, okay? When sweepers come up here, I don't like to trade it. When sweepers come down here, that's when I fire. Okay? I don't like to chase. Because again, what I like to see is I like to see something consolidating, selling, and then wise guys coming in, sweeping, getting aggressive call side. Because again, remember what I told you. For me, it's an indicator of a high probability of momentum coming into the name. So it can change that momentum. If a stock is drifting lower or a stock is going sideways dead, it can change that momentum. So I'm not a big fan, regardless of the order, I'm not a big fan of chasing at all. Sometimes it costs me a decent amount of winners, but that's just me. That's just my style. And that's what I look for every day. So then if I see a sweeper, like I'll give you a perfect example of that. Can I go back? Oh, that was when was that? Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday. X, okay. I don't remember when it was exactly. Hold on. It might have been even the day before. But an example of that was in US Steel. It was something to the effect of this. It was consolidating or lower, going sideways in a sense, and then all of a sudden started to catch not one, but multiple small sweepers. Okay, so somebody was under the radar getting aggressive in US Steel calls. So me as a day trader, I'm day trading the equity. I couldn't care less if he's going to be right on the bet. The only question I ask myself, is it at a spot where it can change or create some momentum for me to either get a scalp or a decent trade out of it? Okay, and then all of a sudden, the stock starts to flatten out, turn, more sweepers come in, and it gets a little gusto for a day trade. Now the stock, I think, rallied a buck from there the following day, but who cares? That's not what I'm looking for. Ani's looking for something else. He's looking for stocks that line up technically, on the technical side of what he looks at on charts. And then he's using the wise guy activity as confirmation. Encana, didn't you hit that Encana too, Ani? That was another name he was eyeing. Now, how do you know, like, what do you go off of? You go off of, like, for example, Ani, the individual I'm talking about, goes off the charts, and he uses wise guy activity to confirm it. Okay? So when Kana comes down, selling, where's it stop selling? Unless you have something to base it off of, where's your entry? So Ani has levels he looks at, and when it's at a level, and there's wise guy confirmation that they're getting bullish, he's going to pull the trigger. Okay, then the trade's got to go according to your plan now. You can't rely on that bet anymore. I know it sounds silly, but that's another thing I realized with the unusual activity. Like all the players that play off unusual activity, they rely on that player being right. Where you don't have to rely on that player being right. You could still make money just off the momentum created from their buying. You understand? So they provide the entry. Now the trade goes according to your plan. All right. In this particular situation, they were annihilating July calls. So now, if you want to take a longer term view, you're looking for more upside. You got to, if you're playing the calls, you got to go further out, at least July. All right. But you're looking longer term. But if you were looking for the bleeding to stop there and for just a trade, you could trade equity, you could trade front month, you could trade 2 months out. You don't have to tail those Julys. And then you can lock in profit, you can leave a piece, you can do a variety of things. That's the way to utilize this stuff. For sentiment purposes and confirmation and indicator. But Ani had a nice week this week. Well done on 2 names. Where am I? Let me get everybody's questions here. What do we got? Anything in Apache? Yeah, we saw some activity in Apache. But now that too, it wasn't even that big of activity, but some small sweeper activity in Apache. Oh, she pulled back the last couple of days. Yeah, we saw it when the oils got hit initially, but nothing huge. What the recent names in energy that they've been buying are the smaller names. Oasis, that's had a nice run. This PE, I don't know if you guys, anybody know that name? Parsley Energy. CPE is another one. They've been buying the smaller ones. Those are the names most recent that they've been hitting. You know, initially they lifted the COP and all that stuff. What names did I miss? Hang on. Sometimes you need names to look at, Faye. Again, for me, I don't have a watch list. I'm not watching any names. So, you know, I'm not someone to ask there. Like I said, I'm watching basically the flow throughout the day. And, you know, I don't know, what do you trade? Small caps, large caps? I don't know, Faye, are you in our community? Even the free community, you should just register. Again, you don't have to put a credit card or anything. But we're talking about a lot of names that caught action there that may appeal to you. You know, there's people who trade large caps, the high beta names, the FANG names. You know, I don't know what names you trade, because you did mention you day trade. So, you know, there's obviously a lot of momentum in the FANG names and stuff like that right now. Energy has had momentum. Yes, there was. COP was interesting because here's what happened with COP. Again, another perfect example of what you were looking for. COP here into the weakness caught April sweepers, okay, into the weakness. There were quite a few of us. I day traded it. It closed green that day. It was a nice winner. There were people who flipped it the next day, those calls for 60%. Some people left a piece and got caught, and look what happened. Okay, then they hit it again down here. So yeah, COP had activity both at higher levels and again right before the news. How about this one? Did you guys see this? This was the talk of the week. FMC. You want to see criminal? Look at this. March 6th. April, 57.5 calls when the stock was 58 and change. On March 6th. March 22nd. April 60 calls. 1.7 mil. Did you hear that? 1.7 mil. That was what? That was on the 22nd. So early March and the 22nd. The funny thing is, Faye, I day traded this name on the 22nd and was an amazing winner intraday off that activity. This was the day here. I think she was down and ended up closing up $1.62 for the day. Okay. Some people took it for a swing trade and sold it the next day and locked in like 80% on the calls. 80%. And they're kicking themselves in the rear end right now because that's what happened Friday. I don't know how this dude is going to explain that. That's going to be a tough one for him to explain. But incredible, incredible. Lowe's, another name. It caught a big order Friday, was tied to stock though. So the player basically, I think it was sold 600,000 shares of stock and replaced it with calls. But aside from that, Lowe's has been a monster flow-wise. Look at that. from January 25th, the flow turned. You can see there was some bearish activity December, then all of a sudden, once the new year rolled around, caught some big time bets too. Look at this, $900,000 sweep, July calls back in February. Back here. July calls. On Friday, he picked up here. July 82 and a halves for $4 million was a block, but he sold 600,000 shares of stock. He replaced. So that order was tied. But the rest of this here wasn't. And you can see some sweepers there. I mean, this is a big sweeper. $900,000 sweeper back on February 17th. So a lot of bullish action there. You know, even though Friday was tied to stock, a lot of bullish activity. At least you have some consolidation here. But this thing has been hot, you know. Has been really hot. That's the problem. A lot of the names that have caught the heavy duty action are up significantly, you know? Makes it tough now. NFX. Did we see? I think NFX, yeah, that's an energy name, right? I think it caught a bet recently. Yep. March 17th, April 37 calls. Caught a small, unusual sweeper. March 17th? That was back here. So back here. That was the last time. But that's an energy name. They were all, yeah, this has been hot too. They've been leading small cap energy, like I mentioned. You know what's another name? This WLL. They started buying it here initially. Had a quick move. And then there's been buying throughout this whole down move. June's. So it was a big winner off the initial activity, but has been awful ever since. But maybe this thing will refine its some legs here. If they stick with energy, we'll see. But energy's been the hot spot. How do I read into the expiration month of the flow? For me, you know, I'm day trading, so if it's too far out, I won't trade. I won't make a trade off it. Again, the best way is to try to, you know, interpret what that player is looking for and then come up with your own game plan. Okay? So if somebody goes out to August, okay, and you know, sweeps a decent amount of calls and you like the order, you know, you got to understand, okay, he went out further, so possibly he's not looking for a quick move, or, you know, maybe he's concerned the market may consolidate a bit here, so he wants to have some time. And, you know, then you come up with a game plan on how you want to play it. So it depends on your trading style, you know. If you're looking for that quick pop, the question you're asking yourself is, was that order impressive enough that it can create some short-term momentum? If not, then you're not going to make a play on it, you know, if you're a short-term trader. If you want to tuck it away, I mean, that's the stuff you should be looking at. There's a lot of solid quality action that gets placed further out that, you know, a lot of guys in the room stick with the names for a while. In other words, they'll buy them on dips. You know, so anytime there's a pullback, they remember that there was a big Jan call buyer there, you know, who got aggressive and they look to buy dips. So it all depends on your trading style. That's what it is. It all depends on your trading style. But for me, it's a simple question. You know, that's what I was explaining to Faye. Can that order I just see create some momentum right now? That's all I'm asking. Not will that bet work out, not, what's he looking for? Can he create momentum right now? And if the answer to that question is yes, again, it may be yes, I think I could get a scalp out of it, or yes, I think this thing, can make a serious move off of it. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm taking a small loss or a scratch. If I'm right, I'm selling that day for a profit. That's pretty simple the way I look at it. And like I said, day trading is pretty cut and dry because by the end of the day, that's it. The game's over. Swing trading, when you're holding overnight, there's outside risk that you have to worry about. There's that chance that the gap's down and your stop loss is useless, right? If you're swinging and earnings are around the corner, there's that risk that you have to make a decision whether you got to hold through earnings or not. So that's why I say swing trading, when you should use this information as an indicator and an indicator only, and it can be very powerful, extremely powerful when you use it that way. When you try to mirror what they do, that's where you get in trouble because you don't have the money they have. You don't have the resources they have. And plain and simple, you don't have the coconuts that they have. Look at Top. All right? They swept April calls here. Now, they're not trading it the way we're trading it. I day traded it. Several people in the room flipped it for 60% higher the next day on the calls. But they probably weren't looking to flip it. They were just early here. So what happened? Stock rolled over with the whole sector, okay? So even though they may have known this information was coming, let's be honest, okay? The sector rolled over. There's no way they know that. Okay, so what happens? It comes down, they buy more. They buy more. Now, what's the retail trader do? He buys here, he doesn't sell the quick pop. Those calls end up going under. He sells them because he can't take it anymore. Okay? They come in and start buying down here again. You think the trader who owned it over here is going to buy it down here? No way. He's got a bad taste in his mouth. He's not playing it. And then, boop. So you can't mirror what these guys do. If these guys are early and they get the timing wrong, they'll buy even more. I seen that once in XBI in the biotech ETF. Same exact thing happened. They bought it, it gapped up the next day, was a nice quick trade, but then rolled over with the rest of the market. They hit it up even harder down there and then caught the big move. So that's why you can't mirror these guys. You take the order, you take the overall flow, you try to interpret it to what picture it may be showing. There are days the flow is mixed and not telling you anything, and those are days where you sit on your hands and do nothing. Those are days as a day trader, I do nothing. You want to be involved and you want to take action when the flow is clearest to you, where it's showing you something and you're confident of it. Like I said, when, for me, the strongest signal is when retail is nervous, bearish, okay? When retail's betting on one side and the wise guys, the pros, are taking the other side of the trade. If you play that setup and just that setup, you're not going to get it every day, you're not going to get it every week, you're not going to get it every month. But if you play just that setup and play big, you're going to be a wealthy man. The problem is, who's got the discipline to just wait for that setup and do nothing in between? But, this is plain and simple here. This is, not make-believe. This is real money at work. This is real money showing that the public is nervous. And then when the tote board, what I mean by the tote board, I call this the tote board. When the tote board lights up green while public is nervous and price is selling, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So that's the ultimate signal. All right, guys, I'm going to get going here. I love talking about this stuff, as you can tell. You know, the market is a passion of mine. Well, that in baseball, that's coming Sunday, by the way. So let me take some away from the market. But thanks for coming out. I appreciate spending your time here on the weekend. Like I said, you guys know where to find me. Anytime you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter. Join the free thing at the least. Join the free thing. We got a cool community in there that, you know, some really good traders too. Some really good traders from all sorts of guys, from futures to options to stocks, technical guys with Fibonacci's and Elliott waves and oscillators, you name it. But you know, you take a little bit from each and every person, from knowledgeable traders, and you know, if you're looking for that strategy, that's when it clicks. You know, that's when it clicks. Like I said, for me, it was unusual activity that got me into this, and it wasn't even that where I found success. You know, I took a little deeper look and stumbled upon this, and I haven't looked back and have no desire to do anything else. So you could go to wallstreetjesus.com. It's all there. Again, 50% off the first month if you want to give it a shot. There's a one-day pass. If you're interested in just private Twitter, it's $59.99, I think, a month. It's, again, wallstreetjesus.com. You'll find it all on there. All right, and if you have any questions, you guys know where to find me anyway. Have a great weekend, guys. I will speak to you next week. Enjoy your baseball.